Moon in Libra bullshit. Moon being how general water energy is getting stirred up, provoked, and accumulated, and that, that connectivity energy, the relationship energy, when we interact and do this quote unquote some type of aura exchange, when you're interacting with other people, however the interaction is, there's an exchange of energies, and everybody is quote unquote in some small degree they're quote unquote leaking energy end quote. Their emissions of their water body aura is passing through other people as they're interacting with other people. So it's good to like shield yourself and cleanse yourself somehow when you're go after like going out into the world and exchanging with other people's stuff. So the predecessors are saying, they're saying as they have said, that they're saying the true masters, they go up and down the ladder, right? And that could mean different things for different people, right? Obviously. So as they're doing that, without getting too speculative about it, the people who are more quote unquote how do I say I guess more skilled in certain ways, their challenge is bigger. Like the like they have to be at a disadvantage because that's just where like a certain evolution is at, right? So within this moon and Libra type of shit, I don't really per se want to have like, I don't necessarily want to like, you know, um gain attention. I want to survive. So there's a difference between me wanting to survive, aside from me getting like, me being known. There was a different word I was thinking about earlier, but I don't necessarily want to be like, known. I don't necessarily, there's another word I was thinking about. I don't necessarily want to like, like be known or have the attention, or be like, I just want to survive, like with me putting out like videos as I've done. I'm just doing it for some type of exchange of like survival, and how the algorithm is corrupted is because Saturn is naturally malefic, not good, not bad in the human terms. And within that maleficness, the humans going towards a more surface level external pursuit, then there's a whole unique shadow of that. There's a shadow of Saturn, and then there's a not shadow of Saturn. And within that, the 3D is heavily catered towards general Saturn energy and general low-key shadow Saturn energy. So that's why the reality is really, really tough. And who's to really say that there's a source that really sends people to different dimensions for different purposes and its own fucking algorithm, aside from the corrupt algorithm and the corrupt foundations that could lay at bay in the 3D per the yugas, the different time ages that are moving through the 3D solar system. And within the 3D solar system, some people, I got a text, some people, two texts, some people, they're, geez, some like we're going to the 3D, right? And some people are, sorry, the text, interrupted me. So like within this whole shadow Saturn, and this is a different type of original open source, because obviously like people be replicating like a ma, and that's just what it is. So like, so what do I mean when I say unfuck the algorithm? It means that generally corrupt things could happen in the 3D, and the 3D is heavily related to like some type of Saturn energy per the yuga, per the time age. And now we're moving perhaps out of a shift where Saturn's having a unique transition within the 3D physical world, and now there's different energies as the solar system is moving in a whole different vantage area field. But that doesn't go to say that like, who's to really say that the gods are at war. In some contexts they are, in some contexts they aren't. And what if, who's to really say that, like, what if they simultaneously are and are not? What if God is allowing certain versions of the quote unquote the celestial beings to be at war? And what if there's a certain version where they're not at war? What if it's like respectively both? It's 2024. So within that, it would be both, and the surface level physical reality, it's catering towards the indifferences. So there's like, if there's 8 like main male quote unquote celestial like masculine gods, and they could be uniquely at war within each other, then that's a whole unique war our certain nation has no fucking idea about. So we don't even know why the wars are a thing, because certain beings are like kind of going against each other. And all of the, so if there's 8 beings, just for like a mathematical example, if there's 8 beings, there's so many different probabilities for wars to come out from 8, because 8 is like a fundamental numerical variable for like an algorithm to even express an algorithm. And I do a whole unique into like an intuitive podcast on my Instagram on what the algorithm is, because obviously some like ignorant, just general disrespectful being out there will think they know something, and out of them thinking they know something, out of their ignorance, they'll speak unpredicatedly, and they'll speak out of pocket, because like I've been doing this quality energy everything for 8 years, and I'm just saying that just for the flow of it. I don't want to be a broken record with that either, because I'm mindful like that. So within this moon and Libra shit, it's like I don't really want like to be like I don't really want to like be like I don't really need the attention. Like I don't really need to like I don't really need like I'm not doing it for like the fame. I think that was the word I was looking for. I'm not like doing it for the fame. I'm doing it for like to survive. And to really check how we quote unquote ground ourselves in reality, so we don't get doxxed by corrupt natures or just other general natures. We have to see like what the Saturn's doing within, how it's coming out of a particular past yuga, and how it was more predominant within its energies, and how it's going into a unique threshold transition into a new yuga, and it doesn't have the predominating control mechanisms as it could have in the future respectively. But still, it's still the staple for how we ground ourselves in the reality, the Saturn mechanism. And hopefully in like God's work, we could somehow balance that within this life, and then perhaps the next life. But that's a whole different transmission, because we're just paying back what we're selling our souls to very directly and metaphysically, right? But the human doesn't know that, because they're intoxicated with the idea of what they sold their souls for based on whatever temporary treasure they have. That's just the hard logic and karma of it. So I got to check my memory, and this phone is really good on memory because I'm holding like 2 hours plus underground unpublicated just generally. And I should have bought a fucking voice. I should have downloaded the voice recorder app so I could do more underground shit. But within that, Saturn and Neptune is still in Pisces. So this is a very, very unique time in the cosmic clock, because, Saturn and Neptune, they're buddies. So that whole fucking like hard, matrix industry, it's all like recollecting the whole past fucking 2,000 years, because we're coming out of the age of Pisces, and the whole 2,000 years was pretty much like, it was like, early rudimentary quote unquote black magic with the humans most respectively, and just a whole unique rendition in the dark yuga, because the last 2,000 years accounted for a very unique degree of human evolution, and how that unique evolution came out after a time of Egyptian times, and from the pivoting transitions of Egyptian times to like early Christian times, then it was a niche change of guard. And and obviously that's for a different, there's different podcasts on that subject too, the change of guard. But it's a micro change of guard, right? Because it's like the context of change of guard is like someone making a new experiment based on a new domain they have acquired, right? And that's a whole deep conversation, right? But there's different calibers of change of guards, and it's up to us to align with the balance and the truth and the intelligence of the greater picture, because if we don't, then we're going to fall short to ignorance, and we're going to sell ourselves to some things that aren't in our best, long-term favor. And it's just you got but like something like that, because this 3D is really hard, as you could see. So within the 3D being really hard, we can only be neutral so much, right? Because the 3D, it's not all neutral. So within the 3D, we can only be neutral so much. So within that, if we don't know where we stand, then we could just fall for any type of ignorance. We could like be susceptible to some type of like, quote unquote energetic weak conformity, end quote, where someone's persuading us and selling us a false, narrative. And if we get bamboozled by that and hoodwinked by that, that could lead us on a whole path that's not in our best favor. So that's why I'm like I'm literally the logical savior, because I'm like bringing the real balanced truth, so we don't get fucking steered to the wrong path. So anybody could cringe and be confused and ignorant and a little disrespectful beezy, and that's their own shit. But I'm like really the real original logical savior, because I'm preventing a detrimental path that you could go on collectively. And obviously, when I say shout out to the original observers, like everyone knows who's observing, particularly in a more close way, and seeing what they're doing from that observation. Because like I'm at like my soul in the human realm, it's at a disadvantage. And that's just, I'm not complaining, that's just what it is. I'm at a disadvantage. So it's like it's kind of unwarranted for like, you know people to like try to like match themselves with something as a disadvantage to them in the 3D physical world. But that's up to their own, what do you call that? That's up to their own, protocols and their own policies and their own like anendos, if I use that word right. That's up to their own like, it's up to their own code of conduct, right? And hopefully this video will save, right? But within the moon in Libra, and so obviously this one's kind of ranty, and then the sun in Sagittarius, like we're being titillated and tickled by what season we're visually like on the prowess with, and we're in the visual prowess of just this grand, expansive, ritualistic type of casual, sports like energy, competition like energy. And within that, it's a whole new reset, and it's a whole new rise for a quote unquote standard competition to take place. And obviously within that standard competition of life and the collective earth, there's a shadow to that. And then that's how like, and from that original starting shadow of the 3D, that's the beginning of hell. Because 3D is the middle realm, as I've said millions of times. And within the shadow of the 3D, that shadow is pointing towards a dissension. And from this 3D competition, it's like people could like, if we're not in a certain type of balance, people energetically could literally like they could literally like on a mature esoteric level, they could literally go to hell. And I could keep going, but my memory's just like it just is what it is. So within that sun, so within the mutable energies, sun generally, it's like it's a time for like us to like be fluid with the change, perhaps. But within the fluid of the change, it's an awareness of just like dark wars that could be happening. Pretty much. Have the best life ever. I wish I could have like went longer. I'm gonna upload this video and do another one probably, because my memory is, I just need to like fix the memory. Thank you.